I never imagined discovering such calculated betrayal while learning to rebuild my life from a wheelchair. The truth hits differently when you're already fighting to stand again. My name is Rex Adams, and I'm 35 years old. I run an electrical consultancy from my adapted work van, making homes accessible for people who understand what it means to rebuild. Amanda, my wife, chose hotel rooms with Tony while I was mastering wheelchair transfers in rehab. The physical therapists taught me discipline. Amanda taught me documentation. Every receipt, every text message, every night she claimed to be at book club became evidence. I once believed we were unbreakable. Now I know better. This isn't a story about forgiveness or letting go. It's about justice served cold, about consequences finding their mark. Before I go any further, let me know in the comments where in the world you are watching from, and make sure to subscribe, because tomorrow I will share a story you don't want to miss. But let me start from the beginning. The neighbors lined our driveway that Thursday afternoon, holding welcome home signs as I wheeled through our front door for the first time in 3 months. The renovation crew had finished just in time. Wider doorways, lower counters, grab bars everywhere that mattered. Amanda stood behind me, one manicured hand on my shoulder, smiling for our impromptu audience. Remember how your mother's kitchen smelled on Sunday mornings? That mix of coffee and possibility? Our house used to feel like that. Now it felt like a staged photo, all surface and no warmth. That first night home, I woke around 2 in the morning. The bedroom was dark except for the blue glow of Amanda's phone screen. She was curled away from me, thumbs tapping rapidly. A name caught my eye before she switched apps: Tony. My chest tightened, but I kept my breathing steady. When she finally set the phone down, I stared at the ceiling until dawn broke. The next day, I threw myself into testing the modifications. The contractor had done good work. Smooth transitions between rooms, reinforced bathroom fixtures, everything at the right height. I kept busy, kept moving, tried to ignore how Amanda barely looked at me. "The ramps work great," I said over dinner, attempting conversation. "Makes it easier to get in and out." Amanda pushed salmon around her plate, her fork scraping ceramic. "I have some emails to catch up on." She stood, leaving half her meal untouched. "Work's been crazy." I wanted to grab her arm, demand answers about Tony, about the late-night texting, but accusation without evidence is just insecurity talking. So I waited, watched, documented everything that felt wrong. 3 days later, I found it. I was checking the car for a missing therapy schedule when my hand brushed something under the passenger seat. A crumpled receipt from the Northcrest Suites, room 417, dated during my rehab stay. 2 nights. My hands didn't shake as I smoothed the paper flat and set it on our kitchen island. I positioned myself where I could see her face when she came home. The front door opened at 8:45 p.m. Amanda breezed in wearing heels and perfect makeup, not exactly book club attire. She froze when she saw the receipt. "This is too much," she blurted, color draining from her face. "Too much?" My voice stayed level. "I didn't ask for a nurse, Amanda. I asked for a caring and honest partner." "You don't understand." She tossed her purse onto the counter. "Tony brings me excitement. With you, it's all schedules and therapy and that chair." The word landed like a slap. "The chair that helps me move? The therapy that helps me heal? I'm young." Her voice rose sharply. "I refuse to spend my life pushing wheelchairs and watching you struggle with doorways. You haven't pushed me through one doorway." I shot back. "You posed for the neighbors today. But where were you during rehab?" Her laugh turned cruel. "You can't satisfy me anymore." "I showed up. I paid our bills. I kept you warm and never forgot to show you love. Something you refuse to do unless there's an audience. You can't even chase me. You're not worth chasing." The argument exploded from there. Every sentence carried more venom than the last. She called me half a man. I called her a coward. When silence finally fell, it felt heavier than any words we'd thrown. Amanda snatched her purse off the counter, stormed to the door, and slammed it hard enough to rattle the windows. I sat alone in our kitchen, that damning receipt still between us, proof that some wounds cut deeper than spine injury. For 5 days straight, Amanda played ghost in our own home. She'd slip in after midnight, perfume trailing behind her like accusation. Each creak of the front door, each whispered phone call from the garage. I logged it all in a spiral notebook. Times, dates, the way she'd mumble, "working late," without meeting my eyes. You know that hollow feeling when someone's physically present, but emotionally gone? The house felt like that. Her clothes still hung in the closet, but her side of the bed stayed cold more nights than not. I'd wake up to empty hangers and fresh gaps in her dresser drawers, like she was evacuating in slow motion. The breaking point came over breakfast. I was adding cream to my coffee when she walked in, already dressed for the office, makeup perfect as always. She didn't sit down. "I'm filing for divorce," she announced, like she was telling me about the weather. "I want the house and half your settlement." My knuckles went white around the coffee mug. The rational part of my brain, the part that knew courts care about evidence, not emotion, kept my voice steady. "You're going to regret this decision, Amanda." She smirked, leaning close enough that I could smell Tony's cologne mixed with her perfume. "Tony says I deserve better than playing nurse to half a husband." The mug nearly cracked in my grip, but I forced my breathing to stay even. Rage might feel good for a moment, but it wouldn't protect my future. I needed something stronger than anger. I needed proof. That afternoon I called Paula Kim. John from my therapy group had mentioned her, said she was like a shark in a suit, specializing in cases where spouses tried to cash in on injury settlements. Her office was all clean lines and careful professionalism, just like her. "Document everything," Paula said, sliding a legal pad across her desk. "Text messages, bank statements, receipts, especially from during your rehabilitation. Courts care about patterns of behavior, not emotional appeals." I nodded, already making mental notes. "She's staying with him most nights now." "Get a Ring camera for the front door," Paula advised. "Start separate folders for financial records, communications, and time-stamped evidence of her absences. The more organized, the better." That evening, I mounted the camera above our front door, angling it to catch every entrance and exit. Inside, I created digital folders with clinical labels, financial records, communications, timeline of absence. Around midnight, I logged into our shared phone account. The text messages loaded like bullets, Tony's name over and over. I screenshotted each damning exchange, especially the one that twisted in my gut. Can't wait until he's out of the picture. I leaned back in my chair, taking deep breaths. The fight for my home, my future, my dignity, it was just beginning. But I had something Amanda didn't expect. Discipline instead of desperation. Paula sat at my kitchen table, methodically arranging the evidence I'd gathered into neat piles. Hotel receipts to the left, text message screenshots in the center, bank statements to the right. The morning sun caught the steel frames of her glasses as she studied each document. "This is good, Rex," she said, tapping a particularly damning credit card statement. "But remember, we win this with facts, not feelings. No yelling, no outbursts, no matter what she says in court." "I understand." My hands rested steady on my wheels. The familiar scent of coffee and wood polish filled the kitchen. The same kitchen where Amanda and I had once planned our future. "I've had plenty of practice staying calm lately." Paula nodded, her expression softening slightly. "How's she been?" "Cruel in new ways every day." I wheeled over to refill our coffee cups. "Yesterday she told me I'm too dependent because I asked her to grab something from the top shelf. Meanwhile, she stumbles in at 2 a.m. smelling like wine and his cologne. Document it all," Paula reminded me, accepting the fresh coffee. Every comment, every late night. But I wasn't just documenting. I was rebuilding. In my garage, I'd set up a lap-height workbench, perfect for the detailed work of electrical planning. My mind drifted to the adaptive consultancy I was launching. I couldn't climb ladders anymore, but I could design systems, coordinate teams, and handle the intricate smart home programming that most contractors avoided. "I've got 3 contractors lined up," I told Paula, some pride creeping into my voice. "They'll handle the physical installations while I manage design and retrofitting." Her eyes lit up. "That's excellent, Rex. The judge will want to see you're maintaining income potential." The next morning, I landed my first real client, a couple wanting their entire home automated. When they signed the contract, something warm bloomed in my chest. It felt like dignity. 2 days later, Amanda burst through the front door, manila envelope in hand. "Here's your divorce papers," she announced, slapping them down on my workbench. "Hope you've got a good lawyer." I simply nodded, already prepared. The papers looked exactly like Paula said they would. The courthouse felt colder than I remembered. Amanda sat across the aisle, wearing what I used to call her church face, performative sadness with expensive mascara. Her attorney went first, painting a picture of sacrifice and hardship. "My client gave her best years to supporting Mr. Adams," he declared. "She deserves compensation for her dedication during his recovery." Paula rose slowly, deliberately. "Your Honor, I have evidence suggesting Mrs. Adams's definition of support included multiple hotel stays with a Mr. Tony Miller during the plaintiff's rehabilitation." She produced the receipts, then the screenshots. "These text messages were sent during Mr. Adams's physical therapy sessions." The judge's expression darkened as he reviewed the documents. "I'm freezing the settlement distribution pending further evidence review." Hope rose in my chest, strong and steady. Across the aisle, Amanda's mask cracked. She leaned toward me, voice low and venomous. "You won't win." My grip tightened on my chair's armrest as I met her gaze. "Watch me." The morning Amanda filed her new accusations, my world tilted sideways. I sat in the emergency hearing room, my palms sweating against my wheel rims as she described incidents that never happened. "He has violent outbursts," Amanda told the judge, her voice trembling with practiced fear. "One night, he threw a drinking glass against the wall, screaming that I was ruining his life." My throat tightened. The lie hung in the air like poison gas. I wanted to shout the truth, but Paula's hand touched my arm, our signal to let her handle it. "Your Honor," Paula said, rising with a folder I recognized, "I have Mr. Adams's complete medical logs from rehabilitation, including psychological evaluations and daily behavioral assessment." She approached the bench. "Additionally, his physical therapist, Dr. Lim, has provided testimony regarding Mr. Adams's consistently measured responses to frustration during extremely challenging recovery sessions." The judge reviewed the documents, his brow furrowed. The fluorescent lights hummed overhead, reminding me of those endless hospital days when I'd learned to navigate my new reality. Back then, I'd channeled every ounce of anger into determination. Now, Amanda was trying to use that same discipline against me. "While these records are compelling," the judge said finally, "given the serious nature of the allegations, I'm scheduling a further review. In the meantime, Mr. Adams, I advise careful documentation of all interactions." The caution felt like a gut punch. I wheeled out of the courthouse into the sharp autumn air, trying to steady my breathing. Paula walked beside me, already strategizing our next move, but her words blurred together. That evening, I sat alone in my living room, staring at the cluster of paper cranes on my bookshelf. I'd folded them during rehab, one for each day I stayed upright in my chair longer than the day before. The yellow one was from the first time I managed a shower transfer without help. The blue one marked my first solo car transfer. Each crane represented a victory over despair. Now they felt like paper mockeries of hope. 3 days crawled by. I buried myself in work, drawing up electrical plans with hands that wanted to shake. Then Paula called. "We've got her," she said without preamble. "The credit card records came through. While she was supposedly caring for you, she racked up thousands at the Northcrest Suites. Room service for 2, spa treatments, premium wine service, all charged to her personal card on nights you were still in rehab." The weight in my chest began to lift. Tony was there? His name's on half the room service receipts. And get this, she bought lingerie at the hotel boutique the same afternoon you had your first wheelchair fitting. Something hardened in me, like steel setting in concrete. The despair of the past few days crystallized into renewed determination. I was reviewing those records with Paula over video chat when my phone buzzed, the Ring camera alert. The screen showed Amanda stumbling up my front walk, barely keeping her feet. Her designer purse dangled from one arm as she swayed in front of my door. "This house should be mine," she slurred, loud enough to wake the neighbors. "I deserve this house. You can't even use the upstairs anymore." I hit record, my jaw clenching as she continued her drunken tirade. Each word she spat was another piece of evidence, another crack in her carefully constructed victim narrative. Paula's office smelled like fresh coffee and determination the morning she spread out the HR documents from Amanda's workplace. Her paralegal had done impressive work, tracking down 3 separate complaints about Amanda and Tony's behavior during the Pacific Coast Sales Conference. "Look at these timestamps," Paula said, pointing to a highlighted section. "Security reported them in the supply closet at 2 p.m. on a Tuesday. Amanda told the court she was taking care of you that day." I remembered that Tuesday. I'd been learning wheelchair-to-car transfers, my arms shaking from the effort while Amanda was... I pushed the thought away, focusing on the papers in front of us. We spent hours organizing everything into chronological order. Hotel receipts, credit card statements, screenshots of texts between Amanda and Tony. Each piece of evidence went into a thick black binder, tabbed by category and date. My hands stayed steady as I typed labels, but my chest felt tight. The mediation room was too warm when we finally sat down face to face. Amanda swept in wearing a cream blazer that probably cost more than my monthly medical supplies. Tony slouched in behind her, all false confidence in his designer jeans. Their lawyer looked expensive and bored. "I've moved on," Amanda announced before anyone could speak. She tossed her hair back, shooting me a practiced smile. "Tony and I are building a life together. I just want what I deserve. The house, obviously. I earned it." My teeth clenched, but I kept my voice level. "Did you earn it during my physical therapy sessions? Or during the conference where HR caught you in the supply closet?" Amanda's smile flickered. I slid the black binder across the table, its weight making a solid thump against the wood. "Go ahead," I said. "Take a look at what you earned." She flipped it open, her manicured fingers trembling slightly. The first page was a timeline. Her hotel stays matched against my rehab schedule. Next came the credit card statements showing room service for 2, while I learned to dress myself one-handed. Then the screenshots of her texts with Tony, timestamp after timestamp overlapping with my recovery milestones. The color drained from her face as she turned each page. Tony leaned over her shoulder, his own complexion going ashy as he recognized his name on receipt after receipt. "You abandoned your vows while I was learning to walk again," I said, my voice carrying clearly in the silent room. "While I was fighting to rebuild our life, you were building a different one with him." Amanda slammed the binder shut. "You're vindictive," she shouted, surging to her feet. "You're trying to punish me for wanting happiness." "The evidence speaks for itself," Paula said simply, her calm cutting through Amanda's hysteria. "This is harassment." Amanda's voice cracked. "Tony, Tell them! But Tony had gone quiet, staring at the binder like it was a snake about to strike. He'd seen the proof. Every secret rendezvous, every charged meal, every compromising text, now documented in stark black and white. Amanda grabbed her purse, tears smearing her mascara. I won't sit here and be attacked. She stormed toward the door, her heels clicking sharply against the floor. Tony followed, his shoulders hunched, not meeting anyone's eyes. I watched them go, feeling something solid settle in my chest. Not satisfaction exactly, but the quiet certainty that truth would win. The courthouse steps had never looked more daunting. I wheeled through security, Paula beside me, her heels clicking against the marble floor with determination. The familiar scent of wood polish and anxiety filled my nose as we entered courtroom B. Amanda was already there, dressed in subtle gray with her hair pulled back. The picture of demure suffering. No Tony in sight. Interesting. She dabbed at her eyes with a tissue, though I noticed they stayed perfectly dry. Remember that feeling when you're on a roller coaster? That moment just before the first drop? That's how my stomach felt as the bailiff called us to order. Judge Harrison entered, her face neutral as she took her seat. Paula rose first, that black binder now well-worn but powerful in her hands. Your Honor, we have comprehensive documentation of Mrs. Adams's infidelity and false claims. One by one, she presented our evidence. The hotel records flashed on the courtroom screen. Dates, times, room numbers, credit card statements showed room service for 2 while I struggled through rehab. HR complaints detailed Amanda and Tony's inappropriate behavior at work events. Then came the Ring camera footage. Amanda swaying on our porch at midnight, slurring about deserving the house because she hadn't had fun in years. The timestamp matched perfectly with a night she'd claimed to be caring for me. Judge Harrison's expression hardened with each new piece of evidence. Her pen scratched against her notepad, her eyes narrowing behind her glasses. Mrs. Adams, she finally said, would you care to explain these discrepancies? Amanda stood, fingers twisting her tissue. Your Honor, I needed escape. Rex's injury changed everything. I wasn't prepared for keeping your marriage vows? Judge Harrison cut in sharply. Amanda flinched. I made mistakes, but mistakes are accidental. Judge Harrison interrupted again. These records show deliberate, ongoing deception. The silence felt heavy as lead while Judge Harrison reviewed her notes. My palms were damp on my wheel rims, but I kept my breathing steady. I've heard enough, she declared. This court finds in favor of Mr. Adams. He will retain full ownership of the marital home and his injury settlement. Divorce is granted. My chest loosened for the first time in months. Furthermore, Judge Harrison continued, Mrs. Adams will pay 60% of Mr. Adams's legal fees, and I must formally admonish you, Mrs. Adams, for filing false allegations of violent behavior. This court takes such claims very seriously. Amanda's face crumpled. She turned toward her attorney, who just shook his head. Outside, the autumn air felt crisp and clean. I wheeled down the accessibility ramp while Amanda hurried toward the parking lot. Tony! She called out, voice breaking. Tony, wait! But Tony was already walking away, keys jingling in his hand, not even glancing back as Amanda called his name again. I gripped my push rims, feeling the familiar texture under my palms. The sun warmed my face as I watched Amanda standing alone on the pavement, mascara finally starting to run. It's over, I whispered to myself, the words carrying the weight of both truth and relief. The courthouse victory marked my new beginning, but rebuilding takes more than one good day. I threw myself into growing the consultancy, channeling every ounce of that determination that got me through rehab. Word spread fast in the contractor community. Builders started calling me the accessibility guy, the one who could look at a house and see not just what it was, but what it needed to become. My van, with Adams Adaptive Solutions on the side, became a familiar sight across 3 counties. Remember those old cooking shows where the chef would toss ingredients with casual grace? Learning to cook from a chair required a different kind of choreography. I'd wedge a pot between my forearm and the stovetop, stirring with my free hand. The first few attempts ended with more food on my shirt than in my mouth. But like everything else since the injury, practice made progress. Within months, I was hosting dinner nights for my basketball team. That's right, basketball. A therapy buddy mentioned the league, and I showed up one Tuesday evening more curious than confident. The squeak of wheels on polished wood, the hollow thump of the ball, the shouts and laughs echoing off gymnasium walls. It felt like walking into a different world, a better one. "You've got good hands," Coach Mike said after my first practice, still breathless from chasing rebounds. "And you understand angles." Those hands, calloused from years of electrical work, found a new purpose on court. My chair became an extension of my body, pivoting and accelerating with growing precision. The same focus that helped me master home modifications translated into mastering pick and rolls. Soon I was running drills with newcomers, showing them transfer techniques that wouldn't tear their palms. "Keep your core tight," I'd call out, demonstrating the smooth motion. The chair follows your intention, not the other way around. The house transformed too. Gone were the sterile adaptations from my early recovery. I installed smart lighting that responded to voice commands, retrofitted the kitchen with pull-down shelving, and built a workbench in the garage at the perfect height for wheelchair access. The place stopped feeling like a recovery ward and started feeling like home. Sometimes I'd catch glimpses of Amanda's life through mutual acquaintances. She bounced between temp jobs, did some ride-share driving, never quite finding her footing after Tony disappeared. I didn't feel satisfaction at her struggles, just a distant acknowledgement that choices have consequences. My evenings filled with purpose instead of silence. Mondays were for league games. Wednesdays, I hosted strategy sessions with my growing team of contractors. Weekends often found me at adaptive sports exhibitions, demonstrating that disability doesn't mean sitting still. 4 years passed like this, steady, productive years, marked by growth instead of grief. The business expanded to include 2 full-time employees. My waiting list grew longer than my active projects. Local contractors started sending their clients to me for accessibility consultations before starting renovations. That spring afternoon, I was reviewing blueprints at my kitchen table, sunlight streaming through windows that once witnessed so much pain. The knock at the front door seemed ordinary enough. I set down my coffee, rolled toward the entrance, and reached for the handle. The knock echoed through my quiet house. When I opened the door, my breath caught for a moment. Amanda stood there, shoulders hunched against a light spring rain, her designer clothes replaced by a plain beige raincoat. Her carefully maintained appearance had crumbled. No more perfect makeup. No more salon-fresh hair. Just wet strands clinging to her face and circles under her eyes that even the porch light couldn't soften. "I'm sorry," she said, her voice carrying that tremor I used to mistake for sincerity. "Tony's gone. HR let me go. I've been staying with my cousin in Oak Ridge." She swallowed hard. "I want my family back." The words hung between us like smoke. 4 years ago, they might have burned. Now they just drifted, meaningless. I studied her face, really looked at it, and saw something I hadn't noticed before. Fear. Not of me, but of consequences finally catching up. Slowly, deliberately, I gripped my chair's armrests and pushed myself up. Years of basketball and upper body work had given me strength she'd never seen. I stood, not fully straight, but tall enough to meet her gaze directly. Her eyes widened slightly, like she'd forgotten I could do this. "I was scared," she whispered, tears starting to fall. "When you got hurt, I didn't know how to handle it. Your injury, the changes, all of it. And I didn't know how to handle it either," I shot back, heat rising in my voice. But I learned. You ran. There's a difference. She wiped at her cheeks with trembling fingers. I can be better, she pleaded. Please, I've changed. I understand now what I threw away. Then be better, I said, keeping my voice steady. For yourself, not for access to what I built. Amanda reached for my hand, desperation making her bold. I didn't move, didn't flinch, just let her fingers hover in the space between us. You told me 4 years ago I couldn't chase you, I said, each word precise and measured. I didn't. I outgrew you. For a moment, we both stood there. Me in my doorway, her in the rain, the same positions as years ago, but everything different. Her mouth opened, probably for another plea, but I didn't need to hear it. Didn't want to. With the same careful control I'd learned in rehab, in court, in every moment since she left, I closed the door. Not with a slam or flourish, just a gentle click. Through the door, I heard her broken sob. 4 years ago, that sound might have weakened my resolve. Now, it just confirmed I'd made the right choice. Some doors need to stay closed. The next morning, steam curled from my coffee mug as I rolled onto the front porch. Dawn was just breaking, painting the sky in soft oranges and pinks. The moisture in the air reminded me of those early mornings in rehab, when I'd wheel myself to the window, desperate for any glimpse of the world beyond those sterile walls. Now, though, that same morning air felt like victory. My work van sat in the driveway, Adam's Adaptive Solution, emblazoned on its side in professional lettering. The rising sun caught the chrome trim, making it gleam. I remembered the day I signed the paperwork for that first van. My hands had trembled, not from weakness, but from pride. Now we had 3 vans running jobs across the city, and a wait list that stretched 2 months deep. I took a slow sip of coffee, letting its warmth spread through my chest. The consultancy had grown beyond anything I'd imagined during those dark days after Amanda left. Contractors called me first for adaptive renovations. Real estate agents sought my expertise for accessibility assessments. Even the city planning committee had reached out about consulting on their new universal design initiatives. The basketball coaching added another layer of fulfillment. Just last week, one of my newer players, a kid named Jake who'd lost his legs in a motorcycle accident, managed his first proper layup from the chair. The look on his face, that's what healing looks like. Not just the body, but the spirit. I set my coffee down on the porch rail and gripped my wheels, moving toward the driveway. These days, I could stand and walk short distances. Nothing like before, but enough to remind me that progress isn't linear. It comes in small victories, in moments of balance found and kept. Through the grapevine, I'd heard about Amanda. She bounced between temp jobs, never quite finding her footing. Last I knew, she was driving for one of those food delivery apps. Tony had moved to another state, leaving her to face the consequences of their choices alone. Sometimes karma doesn't need your help. It just needs time. Standing slowly, I braced myself against the van's door. The metal felt cool under my palm as I straightened to my full height. This wasn't about proving anything to anyone else anymore. This was about honoring the strength I'd found in myself. Justice isn't loud, I said to the morning air. It's steady. It's enforcing boundaries, not letting betrayal write the ending. The sun climbed higher, warming my face as I balanced there in the driveway. 4 years ago, this wheelchair had felt like a prison sentence. Now I understood. It was just part of a larger circle, one I'd completed on my own terms. My hand steady on the van door, feet planted firmly beneath me. I felt the truth of it in my bones. I was stronger now, at the very place I'd refused to break. The wheel that once felt like a sentence had become a circle I completed. Whole and uncompromised, seasoned by fire, but never consumed by it. I believe stories such as this find us for a reason. If this one touches you, please subscribe. I share a new one every day. In the meantime, there are two stories on the screen that are even better.